So everyone's been talking about the fact that Schmeichel is coming to Celtic. That's going to be put pen to paper in the next 24 hours or so, and if not this morning, I would expect. But Celtic, it has been said, are going to get a second goalkeeper in this transfer window, which means the end of the Benji Siegrist saga. It does mean the end of the Benji Siegrist saga, and they're going for a young goalkeeper that looks like will take over from Schmeichel in 12 months to 24 months' time. What does that say for Scott Bain? Will Scott Bain still say at Celtic? Will Scott Bain be happy enough being number 3 at Celtic? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments section this morning. Aston Villa are set to confirm Celtic transfer, and fee revealed as the Aston Villa goalkeeper is poised to join Celtic. Celtic are reportedly closing in on the signing of the 22-year-old goalkeeper, putting pen to paper on a 5-year contract at Celtic Park after agreeing a deal with Villa for the transfer. £1 million for the goalkeeper, a 22-year-old goalkeeper. And negotiations have been taking place over the last week for the player, and it fits into Brendan Rodgers' long-term strategy for Celtic. Now, everyone's been saying, look, go and get the Liverpool goalkeeper for 30 million. I read one of the comments, and people were saying, someone says, look, you wouldn't have to worry about a goalkeeper for 10 years. Well, if you're going to go and get a goalkeeper, why not get one that's even younger than the Liverpool guy, and we can get him for £1 million, and he's going to be an international goalkeeper one day. He's going to be an international goalkeeper. But what does it say about young Toby? What does it say about young Toby at Celtic? And what does it say about the other goalkeeper? It is all up in the air. It looks like Brendan Rodgers isn't happy with the goalkeeping situation, and he has taken it upon himself to bring in this young guy from Finland. Capped 3 times for Finland. He hasn't played a senior game for Villa, but he played the last season on loan at Exeter and made a total of 50 appearances for Exeter, keeping 13 clean sheets in League One. It won't be the only goalkeeper signing for Celtic. As we know, Kasper Schmeichel, the big Dane, will sign for Celtic. Is he being brought in? Has Kasper Schmeichel been brought in to just steady the sticks and bring on this young goalkeeper? It looks like it. Celtic obviously don't trust the goalkeepers that they have at the club. Well, Brendan Rodgers doesn't. Brendan Rodgers doesn't see anything in the young goalkeepers that thinks they're going to make it to the top one day. But Brendan Rodgers is getting his way. And what about Paulo Bernardo? Well, the deal for Paulo Bernardo looks like it was going to go through for 3.5 million. Yes, Celtic are going to get their man for 3.5 million. And that is also expected to go through before Celtic travel to America. Now, will he be Matt O'Reilly's replacement? Really, is that the way that Celtic are going? Will he be Matt O'Reilly's replacement? Is he good enough to be Matt O'Reilly's replacement? A lot of people say, look, Matt O'Reilly down tools the second half of the season, and after the transfer speculation when Celtic knocked back 18 million plus add-ons for Matt O'Reilly just last December. You've had Italians coming in at the starting low price. Now, you'd expect a team to come in and low ball. Celtic are doing it with Adam Ida. Celtic are coming in with a low ball price, trying to get Adam Ida on the cheap. You would expect other teams to do the exact same with our players. It's the way that negotiations go in this day and age. But what it does do is it fires the starting blocks of transfer activity at Celtic this week. Finally, we're going to get new faces in the door. But what does it mean for Matt O'Reilly? Is it the beginning of the end of the Matt O'Reilly story? Will he still be at Celtic? Will Matt O'Reilly realistically still be at Celtic come the end of August when the transfer window closes? Everyone says it slams shut. Who slams shuts a window? You just close a window. Just saying. Anyway, we move on. 3.5 million for Paulo Bernardo. I think it's a good bit of business, especially if we get 25 million for Matt O'Reilly. But who knows about that? There is other news coming out of Celtic that Odom Ohm, that, thin midfield player. I always thought he was a bit lightweight, but seemingly he's been fired a transfer warning by Brendan Rodgers as the Norwegian has struggled to break into the first team picture following a 2 million move last summer. For me, he's just a little bit light for being a really good midfield player. And we all know what happened last summer. Celtic went out and spent 17 million on 9 prospect players thinking that they could come in and do the job. It was all part of that cycle that Celtic go through and manage decline And yes, it's managed decline. Even though we brought in 9 players, the wage bill reduced drastically. And profits went up. So it's managed decline on the pitch. But we still managed to win the double. And people say, but that's all that matters. Brendan Rodgers has warned prospect Odin Ohm that he'll need to work harder to cut it at Celtic. He did feature in the Ayr United and Queen's Park games, but struggled to break into the side last summer. Brendan Rodgers says they need to be at a much higher level if you're going to play at Celtic. Odin needs to do more. There is something there, but he absolutely needs to do more. That's why we preserve, that's why we've stayed with it, because he has the talent. Like Bosun Lawwell, we want to give them the opportunity. It's interesting because there's been a lot of speculation that Bosun Lawwell will leave Celtic again this summer to go out on loan. Has Brendan Rodgers thrown down the gauntlet and said, look, if you want to make it at Celtic, this is the year that you do it. This is the year that you do it. And if you don't break into the first team this year, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then you all know what happens then. They leave the club. It's as simple as that. You have to be able to run. You have to be able to run without the ball. You've got to run with the ball. You've got to put in good possession, and you've got to take the ball forward. Says, that's just playing football the Celtic way, really, isn't it? And he thinks that Odin and Bosun Lawwell don't seem to have that in the midfield. To be fair, I thought Bosun didn't do too much wrong, but I thought he's not at first team standard just yet. But there's one player, Daniel Kelly, that has not agreed a new contract with Celtic, and he's been left in the B team. Anyway, let's get back to the goalkeeper situation. The young goalkeeper is scheduled to undergo a medical, and the announcement will be made after that. The move comes as part of Celtic's long-term solution to the goalkeeping position. What does that say for the younger goalkeepers at Celtic? They've obviously been at Celtic for a few years now. And it must be devastating for them because they're just on the cusp of breaking into the outer berths of the first team, being that third choice goalkeeper, and then Celtic from right under their noses go and bring in a 22-year-old that has got the potential to be an international goalkeeper. Now, do Celtic see him as a long-term answer? Quite possibly. Is it a fantastic move by Celtic? Do you think it is a clever move by Celtic today? Do you think it's a clever move getting this guy in right after Schmeichel and getting him training with Schmeichel? We know how Joe Hart helped the younger goalkeepers last season. Joe Hart helped, liked training with the younger goalkeepers and bringing them on. Is basically the manager doing the exact same with Kasper Schmeichel? Get him in for a year, maybe 2 years, bring in another younger goalkeeper to be the heir to the throne. And if it does and it works out, fair play to Brendan Rodgers. And if he gets the players in that he wants at the right age, is he building, and I'm going to say it, is he building for a third 9 in a row with Celtic? Lit.